Good afternoon. So another choice for canvases or painting artworks for wall pieces is to take an old picture like this one that nobody wants, and we're going to go ahead and turn it into a piece of resin art. And the first thing that I did is clean the glass in the frame, and we are going to go ahead and prime this with an adhesive primer, and that way we'll make sure that we've got good attachment of all our surfaces, because I'll put paint down first and then I'll do resin on top of that, and I want to make sure that the whole thing doesn't delaminate. But I like the idea of using a piece that's got glass in it because it's going to give me more structural support, because canvases, as you get bigger, they're not going to take the weight of the resin as well, especially if you're doing something that's got more than one layer of resin. So what I'm doing is putting an adhesion primer, as I said. In this particular case, I'm using this product called Slick Stick by Dixie Belle. And I'm gonna go ahead and get it covered. Probably use 2 coats, but at least 1 coat of it. And this stuff's gonna need to dry, and I'll probably let it dry for a day. You wanna let it dry for at least a couple hours. If you put 2 coats, you're definitely gonna wanna let it dry overnight. And I am covering the frame as well, because I'll end up doing something with the frame. Even though you can see that this is the glass surface with the frame's raised. So I'm gonna be able to put resin in here and it's not gonna flow over the sides, unless I really did a deeper pour, which I don't think I'm gonna do. So this will be a nice neat pour that won't go running over the sides. But I will want to do something with the frame, and the frame feels kind of plasticky. So while I'm at it, I might as well just hit everything with an adhesion primer. It's just simpler than using a couple different primers on the same piece. And we will get this all covered up and dried. And then we'll get to start with the fun stuff on resin. I'm thinking this is gonna be maybe a purple piece. I've done a lot of different colors where I've done studies with one color in different shades. I've done the blues, as you've seen. I've done some reds. I've done some pinks. Done a green. And I think key's gonna be here is let's try purple. I've got some really cool colors from Just Resin, and I'm dying to use them. And I personally love purple. So this is gonna give me my blank canvas look. So we are gonna be good to go. Get around, make sure I get on my edges, and then we will see you tomorrow. And we're back. So off camera, I ended up just doing after I did the first coat, I just kind of took my brush, and this is just a cheap chip brush because I was using a bonding primer paint. I wasn't, gonna ruin a good brush in case it didn't all clean out. But I just went through and just tapped it to give it a little bit of texture. And I decided to stick with 1 coat because I'm gonna go ahead and do some underpainting. I got some gold paint. This is Dixie Belle Moonshine Metallic and Gold Digger. I got some green, which is the Moonshine Metallic in Deep Woods. So basically what I'm just gonna do is just hit it, because I just want to put something underneath that will maybe peek through, maybe not, but I just don't want white. Because I'm using purples, and I'm making a mess all over. Paint just goes flying. Anyway, so really what I'm just trying to do is just cover the white up on on the base of the picture. I'm not necessarily doing it on the picture frame because I don't know what color I'm going to actually go with the picture frame yet. But pretty much just going to go through. And they're metallic paints, so there's a little bit of shimmer and shine to them, which I kind of like. But also, and they're water-based paints. But also I'm using gold because gold is always a good undercoating for paintings, to do a base, to do any color over. It's just one of those colors that it's better than just having white. If you want to know the technicalities of it, you know, art theory, color theory, we'll get into that. And some of this will muddy up a little bit. And again, I don't expect that you're going to really see this except if it pokes through the resin. And I don't use a really deep coat of resin, so it has a tendency that it could poke through. And in some cases, they're going to meld together, and in some cases, I'm going to try and keep the gold a little bit and the green separated. And I'm doing a stippling motion because I do kind of want to get a texture. With metallic paints, the light does pick up the metallic elements in the paint. So if there's high and low points from different angles, you will see that a little bit better with a little bit of texture. And the bonding primer that I use, the other thing I want to mention is when you clean your brush, if you clean your brush, which that's why I use these cheap chip brushes, because I can just toss them. And I don't have to worry about it because you do not want this going down your sink drain. So if you're going to clean a brush with a bonding primer on it, because it'll bond like cement, which is what it's going to do to the inside of your pipes, you know, you want to take it outside, get the garden hose, and clean it that way. So this is pretty much the next step. I'm going to go ahead and let this dry, and then we'll go ahead and start with the resin process. And if you like what's underneath this glass, the original painting, and if you think you're ever going to use it again, you're going to probably want to seal the edges with some kind of caulking, some kind of glue. I don't really care because I just don't tend to think that what's underneath this is ever going to be used again. So if it seeps through, because resin does tend to seep through all over the place, if there's cracks and all of that. So you want to be mindful of that. All right, we'll let this dry and we'll be back in a minute or a little bit. Okay, we're back. And this morning, we've got our paint dry, our underpainting dry, and it's time to start with the resin. So, how much resin to pour? Well, I have been doing a lot of these canvases that are 16 by 20, and I've been pouring 8 ounces of resin, which is a real thin coat. It barely gets over the edges. It's a very thin coat, not a lot of waste, not a lot of dripping. So if you pictured on this kind of a canvas, I go over the edge, then if you figure, you know, the canvas size of going over the edge, you're probably very similar. So I could pour 8 ounces of resin on this project and probably get away with it. But I think I'm gonna go with a little bit more, and I'm gonna go ahead and pour 10 ounces of resin. or mix up 10 ounces of resin on this project. So I've got my silicone cup, and I have got my Alumilite resin clear cast epoxy. It comes with a side A and a side B. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning you use half this and half of this. And I usually always start with the B, and I measure it out. I love these silicone cups because they are reusable. And when your resin is dry, or when you're done with your resin, the cup is empty, put it upside down on a piece of plastic. Or I do have some of these different size mats that are silicone so that it won't stick to it. I put it on the mat, let it dry out, and after a day or two, I'll go ahead and it'll peel all the stuff out of the inside. I say all the stuff. Sometimes you get little bits and pieces in it, and if you're doing a project that you really need it to be a clean pour, then you may want to get a fresh cup of resin, because you may not want little bits and pieces in it. This is an art project that I like texture, so I don't really mind if there's some old bits and pieces left. It's not going to hurt my curing. It's just going to give a little more character to the piece. So I'm pouring my B, and I'm pouring 5 ounces on this. That's feeling like a little bit more than 5. Unfortunately, this doesn't have a marker for 5. So, but it has milliliters on the other side. All right, I'm gonna take just a little bit of that out. You really want to get pretty exact measurements on this. Some people use scales and do it by weight. There's all different ways to measure your resin. And when you're done with your part B bottle, you want to put the cap back on, because the last thing you want is to mix up the caps from these 2 bottles, because then you will never get the cap off again, because it will cure and harden up and you will be out of luck. All right. All right, now I'm done with fighting with the childproof cap. All right, so I've got 5 ounces of one. I'm gonna go with 5 ounces of the other. All right, cap on. You want to pour it on a level surface. You also want to have your artwork set up on a level surface, because if it's not, then all your resin will slide one way or the other, especially when it's curing. Now that I've poured the 2 parts, I'm going to go ahead and mix it. And I reuse these wooden sticks, so they're just kind of a mess, but they work. And we're going to mix this for about 4 minutes. And I will be back when I'm done mixing, and we'll get to the next part. All right, we've been mixing our resin for about 4 minutes. They say between 3 and 5 minutes you should mix it. You're gonna scrape the sides repeatedly, scrape your stick, get the bottom. You really wanna make sure that this is 100% incorporated so that it cures properly. So we've done that. And I always have, actually I have 2 kinds of isopropyl alcohol that I buy. This 70% is just your regular standard isopropyl alcohol. I put a sprayer on the top. This I use to clean my hands and clean up after resin when it's still sticky and hasn't cured. This is 91% isopropyl alcohol. This is for decorative uses after the resin's poured, and I will get to that later. But there are 2 different types. There's probably more than 2 different types, but these are the 2 that I use. So as resin is very messy and sticks to everything. You're going to want to definitely use gloves. If you're in an atmosphere where you're concerned about like a small room, closed area, and you're worried, safety is really important, and you're going to want to wear a respirator so you're not inhaling the fumes. All right, I have got, as you know, I usually will put some bling into my glitter even before I split it up and put color into it. So this is the Glitter Pharmacy, and this is called Pharmacy, which is kind of a cute name. So anyway, this bottle has lasted me forever. You don't need much, and you can even use less than this, but you know, it's kind of like cooking. I just go by feel. And so I'll mix this into my resin, and then we will go ahead and split up into some different cups and put our colorants in. And I mentioned I use these wooden sticks. You can buy silicone sticks in the resin department. You can get this stuff at Alumilite. You can get at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. You can get it from Amazon. You can go online and register with Alumilite itself, which I do because they do have some specials. They will send you some emails from time to time, and there's some good deals and with free shipping sometimes. So anyway, resin is pretty expensive, so you know, I'm looking for all the edges on that. All right, so I've got my base done, and I am going to start splitting it up into some different cups. As we go through this process, you've got about 40 minutes or so of work time on this resin, which is really good. It's why I don't use, they've got a quick cast, and I don't use it a lot, especially in bigger projects, because you got to really be humming with what you're doing. And otherwise it'll harden or set up on you, and that we don't want to have happen. So I'm going to pour some into a little bit bigger cup. Also, get it out of your big cup and get it into the small cups. The sooner you do, the better off you are, because when you've got a larger amount of resin, it's going to start heating up and curing faster. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to split it up in a bunch of different cups. I'm probably going to reserve some behind if I've got any left. Again, if you're a planner, you can, you can plan this out with your measurements and say, you know, I want 2 ounces of this, I want 4 ounces of that. But I just kind of go by the seat of my pants on this. So I think we'll start with this. I've got 4 different colors, and I'm going to, plus I need gold. So I need gold. Anyway, all right, so we're going to start with our colors. All right, I always, a lot of times I use this Passion, Color Passion Base Cell White, because it does help me create little cells and some cool effects. So I'm gonna mix some of that up. This is a paste, and it just gives a really great effect. You don't need a lot of it. A little goes a long way. But as you see, when I get into playing around with this, it's a really cool effect. Lacing and cells and different things like that. It interacts with the other resins. I tend to use a mix between mica powders, resins, alcohol inks, because each medium has got a different effect to it. So we've got our white. I'm going to start setting these on the side, getting them off my piece. And if you can, get your tops on right away because this stuff is crazy messy. All right, purples. Today is the day of purples. So my first one is a violet. This is just resin and violet. This is another paste. And this is a solid color. It doesn't have any metallic in it, which is, oh, it's so luscious. It's a grape, a great grape. So we're gonna put that, I'm gonna do a couple of these. All right. And again, if you're doing a piece that you're really trying to be neat and very intentional about, then you're not going to want to do what I'm doing right now, which is mixing the colors right on top of the piece, because things spill and make a mess. But I'm doing something very abstract, and I'm okay with it not being neat and specific. All right, that is a beautiful color. Love that. All right, so we got two of these. This one may end up being a little bit lighter. I didn't put quite as much. But you can see that you're getting a opaque look. You can't see the stick through it. And that gives you, that's giving me what I'm looking for. You can make some translucent ones, and with the difference between translucent and opaque, you get more depth. So all these things that we're doing with different pastes, mica powders, alcohol inks, all of that, everything is going to react differently with each other and with the resin. And that's a good thing. All right, we're going to want to move this up, that over. I never have enough room. All right, so that's my violet. Then we've got, all right, just resin and fuchsia. So leaning a little bit more pink than purple. But again, I'm trying to create some depth and variety. And again, this is a paste. These things will get everywhere. So please wear the gloves and don't put it somewhere where you're worried that it's going to get on something else, because it will. As these pastes, they tend to sometimes harden up or get dried out. Just take your, and if they do, take your heat gun, put a little heat on it. The heat will soften it up and thin it out a little bit. And make it more pliable. I get these pastes, Color Passion, Just Resin, from artisttilldeath.com. I will put a link in the display. And if you don't follow Erica at artisttilldeath.com, you should go onto YouTube and follow her. Well, you're probably already on YouTube. Anyway, you should go follow her because she is extremely creative, knowledgeable. She is definitely my inspiration for a lot of things, and she sells all of these supplies. And usually has some pretty good discounts and deals. And all right, so this is the fuchsia. Really pretty. but her resin and artwork is just pretty stunning. So anyway, that's my commercial for her. And her tutorials are really fascinating. I've been watching her for several years. Really good stuff. Her and her hubby do a lot of cool things that inspire me to try and get out of my comfort zone and do some different techniques. All right, fuchsia, just fabulous. All right, so let's see, gotta have enough room. I never have enough room. One of these days, I'll clean up my space so that I've got a big giant open area. All right. Fuchsia. These are just my colors. Pinks, purples. Yum. All right, and look how easy and fast these things mix up. Boom. You're done. All right, that's fuchsia. What else we got here to play with? Violet blue. All right. So we were going a little more red purple here. And now we're going to the blue side of the world. Put your lids on. All right. And this one, I think we'll mix this just one. All right, this has got a metallic in it. All right, so again, when you open up your paste, you want to make sure they're fully mixed, especially with metallics, because metallics either float or drop to the bottom. Oh, look at that. Yum. All right. I like to use a lot of color. All right. All right. Really pretty, really pretty. All right, that is violet blue. All right, I'll close that up. I don't know if I'm going to use it, but I did pull out some glitter. This is German glitter glass from Paint Couture. We've got Emerald City and Wisteria. Don't know if I'm going to use it or not, but I pulled them out just in case. And I have got a Solar Gold. This is a mica powder, and I want to show you mica powders from Pearl X. And this is pretty cool. You want to be careful with mica powders because if you drop them into something at all violently, they will poof. And you sure don't want to breathe the mica powders. So let's load this one up and see what we got. Ah, wicked. All right. Then I got a couple cups I haven't done anything with yet. Gold tends to take over a lot, so I gotta see how things look. I may want another color to offset all the purples. But then again, I may not. And look at that. Rich. Really beautiful. And again, they mix up real easy. So I do like that. All right, we got a gold. We got All right, so I've got 3 extra cups. What are we going to do? All right, I've got, that's magenta. I've got some alcohol inks here. Baja Blue, Rainforest Green, black, yellow, white. I'm looking for, oh, maybe a little orange. I wonder if a little orange would be good. I was thinking about another purple, but maybe a little orange would give a little brightness, or magenta. I don't know. I'm thinking. All right, we'll try a little orange. We'll see what. We may use, we may not. All right, I put, I don't know, 9 or 10 drops in. This is, your alcohol inks are going to be more translucent. And this is from Pinata. You can get full sets of these. And you see that they're really transparent. I think no matter how much you put in them, they're never going to be opaque. I mean, I can just keep loading this up with color and I think it's still going to be translucent. And then I'm definitely going to use, they've got a gold that I really like because it floats on top. And I'm definitely going to use that. I'm also going to use it without the resin and just drop it on top. All right, well, I think for now we've got a good start. How long can I be mixing colors? All right, so the first thing I'm going to want to do, and actually I'm going to use one of these. Let's put this and this. Make sure we don't forget all of these. All right, this is the gold. And when you got these metallics and the alcohol ink, you want to mix them up really good because the metallic particles, you'll hear there's a ball in there that'll mix it up. And you want to get those metallic particles off the bottom and all incorporated. All right. So I wasn't real worried about making a mess on here because the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a grease coat. And this is going to be your base coat. Get some resin down because resin goes, as Rhonda with RK3 Design says, it likes to go where resin's already been. So that's what we are going to do, is put it down where it's already been. Well, put the colors down. So I'm just going to come around here and get resin, not on the frame, but on the piece. Okay, stick on. So even though I poured 2 ounces more of resin than I did before, I still think it's going to be a pretty thin coat. Resin self-levels, so it will keep moving and give you an even, flat surface. Unless you've got something underneath that's creating texture. But we'll get all this out of the cup and be done with that. All right. I really try and get every last bit out of it. It's an expensive medium. You hate to waste it. Plus, I just hate to waste anything. All right, so done. All right, so this is where the play starts coming in. Move that puppy out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and try and not get so much goop on my heat gun. So I'm gonna clean my hands off just a little bit. But once you use the alcohol on your gloves, and you clean the resin off, they're clean. No sticky resin. It's a miracle. I like it. All right, heat gun. We're gonna warm this up just a little bit so it moves a little bit easier. Not a lot. You don't want to put too much heat on it. And then we're gonna use my favorite tool, my fingers. And we're gonna just make sure I get resin squished out everywhere. And this is an extremely thin coating. It's just like painting the surface with resin. Just so we've got no bare spots. And you can use like a Bondo spreader if you want, or anything that's got like a plasticky kind of thing. Silicone, they've got silicone tools for spreading. But then you're going to want to clean them off, because what resin does when it's not cured is completely different than when it's cured. When it's cured, it's cement. It's not going anywhere. All right. So all I'm doing, getting it everywhere. And then we'll start laying down the colors. And this is playtime, so there's no right or wrong way to do it. All I'm showing you is the general techniques of one way you can do it, but you can do it any way you want. That's a part of the fun of creating. It's like playing in the dirt. I need more resin. All right, we're going here. We're going here. Okay. And if you have an overhead light, it's good because the glare from the light will let you know what spots you've missed. All right. Ready for color. Okay. Where do we start? Okay. Everybody's got their own preference and own style. And this color pouring. Basically, you just want to get resin down everywhere. And you're going to go through the hot mess stage where it looks kind of crazy. But like I said, the idea is get the colors down. And as I'm doing abstract art, I'm not trying to be specific, like trying to create a very special image. I'm just going to let the resin play and do what it wants, which hopefully is what I want. So there's a little purple. I got another purple out here. I'm going to hold off for a minute. All right, let's do magenta. And there's different techniques on pouring. You've probably heard people talk about a dirty pour. And that's where they take a cup and they just start pouring in one resin color, another resin color on top of it. They do it in layers. And then they pour it out, and it's a pretty cool effect. I'm not going to do that today, but I'll do another tutorial where we do a dirty pour. And you can see of what I speak. Oh, I really like that color a lot. All right. That. All right, we got our blue violet, I believe is what this is. A little darker. I may have to, I got one blank cup left of resin. I may have to do that color again because I really like that. I like them all, but that could be one that we'll do a little bit more on. That didn't come out as much as I thought it would. All right, how about some orange? All right. Whew. Every time I pour a color, I'm like, oh, I got to do more of that color. All right. Then, let's see, we've got some more violet. And sometimes I'll just pour it in the middle of something else so I break up any big giant spots. And this is not going to run over the edge, obviously, so it's going to be a little different effect. Where are we going? All right. And then I'm going to do the gold so you get a sense of what I mean by the translucent colors versus the opaque colors. All right, here's the gold. All right. Which actually is a good offset for the orange, I think. So I don't need to do more orange, but that orange is so, oof, really, really good. And you can do different things, dragging a stick through. Oh my gosh, there's all kinds of things you can do, and we will do once we get all our colors down. All right, then I got a white, and this is what's going to help interact with everything. So kind of sparingly. Oh. This is so much fun. I mean, you guys got to try this. It's just crazy how much fun it is. All right, I'm gonna leave just a bit of that. See what else we can do with that. And then I have more fuchsia. You just keep going to town with this. A little fuchsia between the white. A little fuchsia in the gold. A little fuchsia on the edge. All right. Sorry, not too much chatter right now. I'm just getting all these colors down. Fuchsia in the middle. All right, what more? I do have one more cup. And I am gonna call for that dark, I think. What was the dark? The violet blue. All right, we're gonna do a little more violet blue. All right. Okay. What fun is this? All right, a little more violet. And again, the layers tend to create a little more depth. And I was really originally thinking this was going to be a dark piece, but every time I think I'm going to do a dark piece, I then put all these bright colors in. All right, maybe we'll do a blob over here. All right, I think we are good to go. All right, so there's a couple ways you can put heat on a piece. You can use a heat gun, which I really like, and you will see why. You can use it on a low setting to warm it up. You can use it on a high setting to start moving it around. All right, done, done, done. Sticky, sticky, sticky. Oh my God, let go of my hands. All right, that, and that. All right, a little alcohol. All right, the other thing you can use is a torch, which makes you feel like a pyromaniac. But they're kind of fun. But you gotta be careful with them because they're dangerous. And you wanna be careful when you're using alcohol and a torch at the same time. You don't wanna mix the two. But, right behind me. All right, torch. Dun, dun, dun. All right, quickly. All right, what are you doing, you ask? I'm getting all the bubbles out, the surface bubbles with that. And also warming it up so it'll start moving around a little bit. And moving around is what we're going to start doing. So, heat gun on a high setting will heat it and start moving. This is good if you have a piece you can't tilt, you can't move, that it's got to stay flat, because once you warm it up to a certain level, it'll start moving on its own. There we go. See it rolling over? The colors are just moving. There you go. Woo. Oh, wow. some of these edges. And this resin will keep on moving after I'm done playing with it. All right, I do have a little white left. Right now I'm just trying to break up any big blocks of one color. I mean, you can mess this whole thing up with your hand and start all over again if you really wanted to do something different. And these cells are these little pockets of, I'll do a fly over it in a minute. These little pockets of like little amoebas, amoeba looking things. All right, now something else that you can do, because you could stop at any point, although I want to break this up a little bit more. Something else you can do with the gold, the floating gold, which is the Pinata. I know this is a horrible mess. It's called Rich Gold by Pinata. Now, then the key is to get the cap off. All right. Is you can just do some drops. And hit it with a little alcohol, 91%. And then I'm just trying to break up the gold here. All right, not so purple after all. Ah, well, it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. All right, clean the hands off. We'll do a flyover. And hopefully not get resin all over my phone. All right. Okay. And we're back for the flyover. Now, this is not the final product because the resin's going to keep moving and doing different things. But when I talk about cells, you see all these little, like I said, little microorganism looking type things, amoebas. Come on, focus. Right down here, there's a great spot. Right in there. Oof. Like some underwater fantasy. Maybe this will be the gold piece. Yeah, there's another cool set of cells. I like the interplay of these colors. I think the orange was a good addition to offset the gold. And I know I'm getting a little glare from the overhead lights, but I'm trying to go back and get the whole thing. So we'll play around just a little bit more and see how that works and let it sit and see what happens. Okay, next step is what we're going to do with the frame. I decided to go ahead and gold leaf it, and what I'm using is this metal leaf in gold, and it comes in a package of 25 sheets. The sheets look like this. Oh, I gotta be careful. This stuff is, it's unkind to say it's miserable to work with, but it's very particular because it sticks to everything. So the sheets look like this. All right, I am, oh darn, making a mess. All right, so I cut the sheets into strips. Not that you would know it from what I just did, but as you can see, it sticks to everything. So what ideally you're gonna wanna do, and I'll show you with this strip. Bear with me for just a second. First of all, with gold leaf, you've got a metal leaf adhesive, and you want to paint it on with a paintbrush, a small artist paintbrush, and just paint it on. Let it sit for about 20 minutes till it gets tacky. And if you've done this right with these strips, which I did perfectly off camera, you're going to want to take and leave the paper on it and then just roll it over and place it. And you want to be really careful with gold leaf when you're smoothing it on. You want to be a soft cloth, a soft paintbrush. You don't want to scrub at it, because if you scrub at it, you'll change the appearance of it. You'll scratch it. So basically what I'm just doing is painting it on. And as you can see, this piece over here, I totally made a mess of. But that's gold leaf. And it does get everywhere. It gets on your fingers. It gets, so you want to have a surface that maybe's got plastic underneath, because you will end up with a lot of extra pieces, which you can either save and use to piece in the blank spots. And this is pretty tedious work. Once you get the hang of it, you can do sheet after sheet after sheet, and it goes along pretty quick. I haven't done any gold leafing in months, and so my skills are a little sketch. But you pretty much just smooth it on, and it gives you this really beautiful finish. And then once you get the pieces on, you want to lightly brush so you get all the excess off. And then if you've got blank spots, you go back in with more leafing. If the leafing is not sticking, you'll go back in, and I'll take a little tiny paintbrush, and I'll just dab some more of the adhesive on, let it sit for a little bit while I'm working on another section, and then go ahead and fill it in, piece it in. I've got, oh, you probably can't see it. Let's move this over here. I've got a little piece in the corner here, right here, that had a bald spot. So you just press it in, pull off the excess, lightly brush, and you're good to go. So that's gold leafing. The final look of gold leafing is going to look like this. Right in here. Real pretty surface. All right, I'm getting back to the tedious work, and I'll see you when I'm finished.